So today I just finished rereading a manga series called Love Me for Who I Am, and I decided I might as well talk about it a little because because I really enjoy it, and it's Pride Month. It fits with the theming of everything. For context, what the series is all about is there's a non-binary person who pretty much wants to make friends. They've always struggled with it, and someone finally reached out to them to help them out, and suggested them this cross-dressing cafe, where it's all a bunch of boys who dress up like girls, and it looks on the surface like that'd be perfect for them, because to everyone else they look like a boy cross-dressing as a girl. But then, but as I explained, they're non-binary. They're not boy, they're not girl. So basically, the entire premise of the series is it can kind of boil down to people learn for the first little bit it's about people learning about Mogumo, and that's their name, Mogumo. But learning about they're non-binary and stuff like that. But then over time it's all evolved into being more of this learning about just LGBTQ plus in general for other kinds of characters who Mogumo meets up with and becomes friends with or already is friends with. And it's and I mentioned earlier, this was a reread. The first time I read this was back in October last year. Actually, I finished reading the final part on Halloween, which is fitting because the final two volumes are sort of set near Halloween time, so that was a happy accident. And I guess one of the things that got me wanting to read the series in the first place was just sort of I guess it's just sort of interesting to I've always found stories about someone trying to make friends interesting. I guess maybe just I don't know. And the added aspect of them being non-binary and the whole general idea of LGBTQ stuff involved in the story. That's always something that's interesting me, just because I know of trans people, and I've throughout my entire life, my mom's been telling me, hey, no matter who you love or whatever it'll be, I'll always still be accepted by her. So I guess I've always just lived in a world of accepting the kind of people you would see in this manga. So I guess seeing something to represents them, it's I guess it just interested me, especially since I don't know. But one of the things I really like about this series is just I guess it's just some of the ways you see the characters, because I guess it's going to be a little bit of a spoiler territory for one of the first volumes of the series. But there's a character called May, and her thing is that from the very start, at the very start, because they're part of the cafe question is what it's called. Because they work there, your initial thought is, oh, they're a boy who's cross-dressing. And all of the other characters in there, they kind of all sort of have their own reason to cross-dress, I guess. Because you had one of them who was gay, because they would cross-dress initially to be just hide the fact that they were gay. Just be when they're hanging out with the person who they're in love with, they don't want to get attention or weird looks, so they dress up as a girl so that people think that they're just in a standard relationship. They're in the typical female-male relationship, but then they just sort of grew used to it, to cross-dressing as a girl. And then you also had like this other character who just like they just found it fun to just like dress up and like just I guess sort of like just sort of like dressing up and as like a completely different character, a completely different gender was just like just like fun to them. It just like that's just like sort of like helps them free them of like all the annoyance of like school and stress of there and that kind of stuff. So, and then you had May, who like the pretty much reason I like the start was pretty much just like, I guess like it was kind of just shown as like they didn't like being a boy, so they could just kind of just like hide the fact of like they could like sort of like, if I remember correctly, it was like the from like the when you first see them, like when they're like I guess I might need to explain what sort of happens towards like the start of the series. Because Mogumo is non-binary, they sort of have like they sort of don't like the introduction they give as like a member of like staff, because they'd be like welcome to the cross-dressing cafe question, and like they have to introduce themselves as being an otokonoko, I think I'm pronouncing that right, which is basically just a boy cross-dressing as a girl, basically. And because of that very like strict explanation given to it, Momo wasn't really fond of using it. They didn't want to use it, but then May was adamant that they have to be referred to as that, because and it sort of gets revealed that it's like the reason why they want to be that is because, I guess sort of because like they don't enjoy being a boy, so like they try to like hide it by being like, they at least try to like hide it a little bit, but like they also didn't think they could be a girl, which is also why they couldn't like quite commit to being it, and because of thanks to Mogumo's help in the first volume, they are able to actually like transition and actually become a girl like they wanted to, which gets with May, you can like as you read more of the series, you can kind of like see like progression in her. Like I took this one picture of like that I might like show on the video, assuming I actually make this a video. I have no clue. Where it's like towards like the end of the series where like she's like dressed up for like Halloween. And it's like, it feels like completely different to like the character from like the very opening, the very start, which is like, you know, that's nice to see, especially since May ended up becoming one of my favourite characters in the series for me because of her story. And there's also another character who I like because of that story, who is Mogumo's one and only childhood friend. They were called Katoni, and again, this is going to be another spoiler, though I already spoiled for the start and kind of the end, so I guess it doesn't matter giving a spoiler warning at this point. Katoni, at the very start, they're sort of seen as like a villain kind of character, because like they start to see that Mogumo and Tetsu are like they start to figure out that maybe they're starting to fall in love with each other, and because but Katoni, she is also like expressing love with Mogumo, so she wants to stop that, especially since, you know, like legally speaking, Mogumo is still male, so like if Mogumo and Tetsu were to go to like try and get married, it would be like much harder, practically even impossible, because you know, it's gay marriage. I guess that's not like allowed in Japan, at least at that time. I don't know about 2025, but basically because of that, they're sort of like, the way it's like sort of shown is like Katoni wants to marry Mogumo, as if they're acting as if Mogumo's still male. So you sort of like seen them as a villain, because not only are they getting away between Tetsu and Mogumo, but they're also just like not accepting who Mogumo is. But then later on in the second volume, you actually learn that it's actually, well, partially the complete opposite. I guess the half opposite, because actually, the Katone is actually treating Mogumo like she like they're a girl. So it's like, because in actuality, Katone is lesbian. She's actually attracted to girls like herself. And like pretty much pretty much the entirety of like chapter of volume 2 and volume 3, sort of like dedicated to Katone and like her also coming out and becoming a lesbian herself, or like admitting to it. So and like in seeing that was also like just like sweet to see. It was like very like nice, and I guess I just like really like these like stories of just like someone having like a trouble in their life and like finding like some like way to overcome it, especially since, you know, these are actual problems that actual people actually have, actual problems I've seen people have actually. So it's like, it's just like nice to see, I guess. Nice to see these people who are like sort of seen as minorities actually like being like find friends, find people who are like them and stuff like that. And the finale of the series in volume 5, I also like that because it's just like, it's all like bringing an end to like Mogumo's story, because it's like throughout the entire time you sort of seeing them making friends, but then like, you know, if there's one big problem for anyone in like LGBTQ plus community, it's the fact that like, you know, their family members, like, if there's anyone who you don't want to leave with, it would be them. If there's someone who you don't want to like ruin a relationship with, it would be your family. So it's like, you know, like you go to like the situation of like trying to like come out to your parents about like being in Momo's case being non-binary, and it's like, who knows what can happen with that? Like, maybe you'll be kicked out of the house. Maybe you no longer be seen as family. Maybe you'll split the family in half and have one family be against you, the other family be for you, and potentially be the cause of a divorce. So it's like, it's just like so much like stress that could go into it, and it's just like, it's nice to like see like a little story for that. So then like and another thing I appreciate is like during that final volume they actually like show a little bit behind like the parents' perspective, especially like the dad's perspective, because like he's like the most against Mogumo being Mogumo. He's like the most like he's like the one who's like, oh, you're a boy, so you have to be a boy. So it's like that kind of, he's like doing that kind of stuff, and like through like sort of like flashbacks, you can like, and like the way he speaks, it's like I can kind of see where he's coming from. Like, I don't agree with him, yeah, sure, but also like he's like wanting to be a parent. He like wants to like he's just like concerned for his child. He's just like, he doesn't want his child to. He doesn't understand that this is all just like who they are. He just thinks that this is like a phase, and he's thinking that it's just gonna be like a problem for them in the long run, because it's like you have a boy going outside in a skirt with girly hair. You're gonna be worried that they're like, maybe they're gonna be like picked on or something like at school, or maybe like they just won't be able to like find friends. They won't be able to like fit in with everyone. They're gonna like be like maybe like so it's like of course like a dad would be like concerned about those kind of things, because like it's nice how they try to like show that like, yeah, like he is a caring parent. He just doesn't understand. Just didn't understand like this, like he just doesn't understand that what do they call it? Like, you got son for a male, you got daughter for a female. What do you call them? A non-binary? I guess it would just be child, I guess. So, like, they just like they perfectly show that like, yeah, he may not be like treating it the best way, but he is still like trying to care for his child, which is like it's nice. It's like I hope maybe like someone who like is going through like the kind of stuff that Mogumo would be going through is able to like read it and be like, you know, maybe I would be able to like get on like the same, like maybe I would be able to like help my parents understand, like, you know, having a story like this can like probably help people with like going through those situations. But I don't know if I exactly want to say because one, I'm not LGBTQ or plus, and I've already mentioned that my mom, well, at least, was always like mentioning how she'd be like fine with whoever I met, whoever I marry, whoever like what kind of gender I may marry into. So it's like, and like I've already known trans people there, and she's fine with them. So it's just like, yeah, I guess like if there's anyone who wouldn't feel stressed about that in this kind of situation, I guess it would be me. So I don't know if this kind of story actually helps someone, but I can at least get joy out of hoping that it would help someone. I'm like, but like one thing I would I guess this isn't a flaw of the series, but also just a hope of the series. Is I just hope there's more. I wish there could be more. Like I remember when I first finished reading these in October last year on Halloween. Part of me felt sad about like finishing it because it's like yeah, it was like it's a happy ending at the end, but like I just like wish there was more. I just like wished I could see more of these characters, see more of them like going through like whatever problems they had because Katoni towards the end said that she needs to still come out to her parents. So it's like maybe like what if there was like a spin-off or sequel series based around her, or maybe even like a some sort of series based around like maybe like May and like her as a child, like just like fully focusing on like what it's like to be a child who thinks they're who sees himself as being in the wrong gender, who was born in the incorrect gender. Like I guess I just like find that interesting to do, especially since I'm developing my own game and like one of the characters I'm making, one of the main characters in that game is also trans, and like every time one thing I think about is like I'd love to be able to like finish this game one day, and then like create a spin-off series focused on that trans character, focusing on their entire story, because like I guess like it's just like this is such a unique story, I guess, because there have been other like anime and manga series I've seen that have like also had maybe the occasional like lesbian character in them, but they never felt like it's like changing too much. Like let's take Kiniro Mosaic, or Kinmozo as the anime calls it. Let's take that series. You've got like Aya, who's like she's lesbian, and like there's like the running joke of the person who she's clearly in love with is not noticing it at all, and it's like yeah, that's like yeah, I guess that is like good representation of lesbian, I would presume, because it's like, you know, like you're not exactly able to come out to them, but it's also just like because it's like a comedy series, they're just like sort of like doing it off in a silly little way, because it's just like, haha, isn't it so obvious? How on earth are they not finding it out? But also like I also can't help but wonder like if Aya was a girl, was a boy, or if she was into a boy. I don't know if it would exactly change much of that situation, or change much of like the entire story itself. Not like it's like a bad thing. I'm not saying it's like this is like a negative on that anime, but like, you know, like with Kiniro Mosaic, if the character wasn't lesbian and instead just in a straight relationship, it wouldn't change too much. But with Love Me for Who I Am, if you made one of those characters even slightly different, they wouldn't even be involved in the story at all, probably. Or like the entire story would have to be like rewritten to like accompany the fact that this character isn't a cross-dresser, this character isn't in a gay relationship or lesbian relationship or whatever, or isn't trans. So it's just like this is like a story that could only be told with this selection of characters. So it's like, yeah, I guess it's just like a part of me that like wants to see more of these characters and more of like what life they will have, what more stories they could go through. Because it's just like, I guess I just like see it as unique. And you know, now I'm thinking about it, with this series, it's like all set in like Japan and stuff. So it's like, of course they'll be like doing like of course like these will be saying like a lot more like Japanese values, but like as a British person who I'm interested in like, I'd love to like see like the American version of the story, I guess, where it's like, because like with like the father in this one is like, he's like the busy working man. He's like he's not got time for his family. He's constantly working, which is like at least how which is like feels like different for like what like this story could be for like an American like told version. Because like if I like if this was American, I imagine they'd be more of like oh the parents they're devout Christians. They see like the like something that's like trans or trans or like gay relationships. They may see something like that. It's like the work of the devil or something along those lines. You can clearly tell that I'm British because I don't know exactly what the American version of this would be like. But you know, that's just like, I guess I'm just like more interested in just like, what would this story be like in other countries? Not saying that Kate Kanoyama, the person who created Love Me For Who I Am, I'm not saying like he or she or quite possibly them should be the one who's like writing that story, but I'd love to see that story written by someone, whoever it might be. But yeah, I guess that's all I have to say for this series. In short, Love Me For Who I Am is a great manga series where if you're interested in it at all, I would highly recommend it because it's probably like my second favorite manga of all time. And I guess because it's fitting and because this will hopefully end up being uploaded during Pride Month. If you're someone like Morumo who may be like struggling with your gender or maybe like your sexual identity, or maybe struggling coming out to that, you know, maybe you should try reading this. Maybe I'll hopefully like think more positively about it. Maybe it'll help you give you the courage to talk about it to someone. Now, how on earth do I end a YouTube video?